Personally, it has been blood, sweat, and tears to record it.
Yeah.
And of course, I love the album, but vocal-wise, I've grown a lot because we performed, and it was my first time being in a real studio. Of course, we recorded the demo, but those were only 2 songs. And I ended up in a hospital just before recording because I had like 42.5 degrees fever. So in that part, it's blood, sweat, and tears. And I wrote only 3 lyrics on that album. This album I wrote half, and Mark wrote the other half. The lyrics haven't changed in a way that I write, but of course I had some situations that weren't so wonderful, and I write about my own experiences and the things I see in my environment. But there's one lyric. It's a bonus track, Vignality, and I wrote it about something quite personal. But in a way, I wrote it in a subconscious way that I understand my lyric now, 2 years after writing it. So.
Can you explain maybe what the song was about, or is it too personal?
Well, it's about still living in the past, things you regret that you've done, and you like to turn back time, but you have to continue on and accept your choices. So. And
have you always, let's say, is it normal for you when you write, and then after a few months, weeks, years even, that you understand more what you were referring to or writing about?
Well, I think it's with almost every writer that you write also about things that you don't know that are going on in your mind. It's subconscious, and I think it's also a little bit of therapy, that things you really want to write down, but also some things you write down, but then later on you think, oh, that's what I meant writing down. And it's also very nice to see how people understand your lyric. So they see it through different eyes, but you wrote it through different eyes. So that's.
And what is the biggest difference, let's say, for example, for a lyric on the first album, that you meant something and then people interpreted the other way around, maybe?
Well, it's with Elusive Consensus. It's about some kind of love story, how you get entangled up in your feelings for one other, so the other one can take advantage of that. How do you say? I made it more dramatic, but I got some emails. Well, I broke up with my boyfriend. I felt very confined in this relationship, and you made me see how I felt, how I loved him, and well, I don't want people to break up, but if my lyric helps them in a way emotionally, then that's a compliment, I guess.
Okay. Dance of Fate.
Dance of Fate was originally the album title.
Okay.
But that is one of the first songs that I wrote. But since you have Iron Maiden with Dance of Death, there is a new band called Imperia, the Ancient Dance of Kitesh. So it was a little bit, and we are a metal band, and you're not gonna have dance in the album title. So, but Dance of Fate is about the dance of fate. Everyone has to accept his fate and do not try to avoid it. And it's difficult, and you don't know what is gonna come, if you're gonna live another day, and how fast the clock is ticking. Sometimes I'm still young, but what happened to Epica in about 2 years feels like 6 years.
Yeah.
So everything is going through a roller coaster ride and going really fast. But I love it, and I believe everyone has his own fate, and there will be good days and bad days. So.
Okay. Then Solitary Ground.
Solitary Ground is probably going to be the first single.
Mhm.
It's a lonely song. It's very sad. We also recorded a video clip, and it ended up in the newspapers, but they didn't understand the lyric, the title. They wrote "Solid Ground," which has a totally different meaning, of course.
Yeah.
It's a song about traveling. Me being in a band, we travel a lot. You see a lot of the world, but on the other hand, it feels like a dream, because in the morning you're still in Holland, and a few hours later you're in Spain, and the next morning we're back in Holland. And it's hard to put your feet on solid ground. It's hard to feel at home. So that's what it's about. It says living at different paces, evading into different spaces. My compass has broken. I'm losing the way. La 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 la, leads me astray.
Okay. Okay, well, the thing I wrote down from that song was, can I find solid ground, or am I just wasted?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's a theme you were saying. Blank Infinity.
Blank Infinity is the title, describes the lyric immediately, because it is like a blank infinity of words. I wrote that also in an afternoon, and it's basically about mixed up feelings about everything, and frustrations, and it's, I don't know. I guess a lot of people will get different stories out of that lyric. I don't understand it myself at the moment.
Okay, so you still have to wait 2 years.
Yes, and then I will understand it.
Okay. Force of the Shore.
Yeah, that's very complicated. Well, not complicated, but it has a lot of perspectives in that song. Force of the Shore stands for, it's like the cover of the book. Behind the shore there is more, and inside the book there is more than just the cover. It's about people paying more attention on their appearance than on the inside. They cannot accept that time is going fast. They are aging, running away from the past by changing their appearances. And
But did you write that song or a minute lyric with someone in mind specifically, or is it
well, it's all especially the TV programs, Make Me Beautiful and this kind of shit, where I see, of course there are people that have been bullied for whole their life, they have like big ears, or they get that fixed. But once they are at the doctor, they said, okay, fix my boobs, I have too much fat, and they are just consumed with the standards of how people have to look these days. And I think it's more important on the long way that you feel good inside than on the outside. But of course, if you have a problem about your nose and getting that fixed, but people are too consumed about aesthetics.
Have you always felt like this, or is it?
Well, of course I would like to have something fixed, but health is more important. I've learned that a lot. The last month I ended up in the hospital. I nearly died because of my appendix.
Yeah.
So then I would rather be less beautiful with good health than
with no appendix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget it.
Okay.
I don't need it anymore.
No. Quietus.
Quietus. That is about making choices in your life, but the big choices of life and death. And
what do you mean, with suicide or something? Or?
Yeah, suicide, ending of pregnancies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I have some situations in my friends, and I don't want to say who I'm writing about, but it's deprived of my own innocence, denied. So you've lost your innocence by taking this choice, and it's hard to go on, and you deny that you have lost your innocence. You cannot comprehend it. So.
Okay, and the first thing that pops into my mind, I only heard the song once, is some kind of Irish folkish rhythm.
Yeah.
Was it done on purpose, or was the song written originally that way, or was it something that was later on put into the song? Or?
Yeah, this is quite strange, because the song has a very happy feeling about it, but the lyric is very sad.
Okay.
But first there was the instrumental part, and then we adapted the lyrics. But this is, I must say, the most strange song on the album because it is contradicting.
Okay, and the last song. Let's see how much minutes we have. You can pronounce it because my French isn't that good.
12 years.
Okay, which is about.
It's Mark and the rest of Epica wrote the movie score of Joyride.
Mm-hmm.
And the film is based on the legend of the 12 years, which means 3 virgins. And I'm not gonna tell you what the story is about, so you just have to watch the movie and you will understand the lyric, I guess.
Okay, let me say then one line that I wrote down is innocence died when they took his mind.
Yes.
You don't have to comment on it if you don't want to. But.
Well, someone is gonna die in the movie.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.